have uncovered the glyphs. Very good. It is time we awoke the Oracle from its deathless slumber. O great Oracle, grant us the knowledge we seek. What evil rises in this land?
The prophecy is fulfilled. The guildsman is here. You follow the footsteps of the one who bore the mask you carry. Jack of Blades has awakened the dormant power of the Summoners. He has used the blood of your family to feed his new shell beyond the Bronze Gate. But now his soul mask is in your hands. You must use it to feed the Archon's shrine and open the gate. Go now and face your destiny.
So, Jack has cheated death once more. Never have we encountered a being like him. I do not envy you. The Bronze Gate has long been a symbol of doom in this land. Return to Briar Rose at the shrine. Perhaps she can tell you how to use Jack's soul mask. I must return to the guild. May fate smile on you.
You've received a new quest card.
Have you heard? The Oracle is awake. I knew it wasn't a legend. I only wish I knew the expressions needed to question it. But wait, aren't you the one who found the glyphs? What are you waiting for? Use your expressions and ask it a question. You can learn a lot from the Oracle. It knows everything. You can learn a lot from...
The Sign of Kalran. You seek the lore of beasts and fiends. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Balverines. The first Balverine was born of the bite of a creature far more terrible, the Balvorn, who dwelt upon this world when gods and demons were still the primary force. When men first started to walk amongst them, the Balvorn would feast on the flesh of thousands at a time. Only once did a human survive such an attack. He became the first Balverine, and his curse has survived to this day. It's been so long since I told anyone about Krakens. If Krakens had existed on land as the first trolls did, or in the air as the greatest dragons did, they would be as rare as most other creatures from the age before man. But they dwell in the deep, unexplored mysteries of the sea, and there they have survived since their creation in the War of the Gods. There is much in the vast depths of the ocean that is unknown to the people of Albion, and its people should pray it stays that way. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of The Sand Goose. Many strange creatures have walked upon this world since its birth. Yet, the historians who found some of their remains are responsible for one which never existed. The fabled Sand Goose. Joining the remains of various beasts, they hypothesized that this flightless bird was the size of a house, lived primarily in deserts, and was able to speak a variety of languages. There are those who still believe in its existence, but their search has proved fruitless so far. It's been so long since I told anyone about Screamers. These unfortunate beings were once men, will users who dared to oppose Jack of Blades. They were cursed, never to find rest, except by torturing the souls of the dead and feeding on the life force of the living. But their true nature is only hinted at in our reality. Their true power is in the realm of death, where souls must pass before reaching their place of torment or peace. Every person who dies in this world must escape their screams before finding their own rest. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Summoners. Unseen for almost as long as the Old Kingdom has been gone, these creatures were once the scourge of Albion. A will user called Halleck, cast out by the Archon for his use of dangerous dark magics, created these colossal beings by reanimating the dead bodies of fallen warriors. People throughout the kingdom learned to fear Halleck, and though it was the magician himself who was the summoner, his creations soon earned that title through their ability to appear out of nothing as they brought forth total devastation. I know some interesting things about Balverines. The first when only...
You can learn a lot from...
The Sign of Yeron. You wish to know more about the people of Albion and beyond. Let's see. Let's discuss Whisper. The people of Albion can be fickle in their affections, and Whisper's inglorious defeat in the arena stripped her of any repute she may have once possessed. For many, she would never grow out of the immense shadow of her brother Thunder. And so she left our shores and set out for the distant homeland she had last seen as a child. Her sea journey was once again beset with difficulties, and her ship was boarded by pirates. None of them survived. She arrived at shore she barely remembered, with nothing but her own strength. Yet now, she is beloved as a true hero among her own people. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Teresa. After walking out of the Chamber of Fate, Teresa fled to the mountains, climbing alone to their summit. There, she was taken in by Palgan, an old will user from the lands to the east. Palgan had been meditating in the thin air close to the clouds, but he offered to take her with him on returning to his homeland. One night, Teresa awoke to find him performing a ritual above her, in an attempt to steal her prophetic powers. She killed him, and used the amulet that had transported him halfway across the globe. lives in the East now, haunted by her past only in rare nightmares. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of the Guildmaster? He may be known for his calm poise as a stern authority rather than an adventurer, but this was not always so. In his youth, when he went by the name of Weaver, he was part of a cluster of heroes, maids among them, who rebelled against the previous guild regime and its resolution of offering only virtuous quests. Much blood was spilled in this short revolt in the name of freedom, leaving the number of heroes, already rare in a world of diminishing will presence, at its lowest for centuries. It was Scythe who proposed Weaver as the new Guildmaster, seeing in him the serene and impartial man he would become. Someone who would leave the moral destiny of all future acolytes in their own hands. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Thunder. Many years ago, a ship from the South Islands was carried upon a wave mightier than any dragon, and within the ship stood the mountain-like frame of Thunder. It was a storm as none aboard had ever seen, but the great warrior was concerned with one thing only: quelling the cries of a child, his young sister, Whisper. The wave bore the vessel across vast expanses of ocean and into a nest of krakens. Thunder cast down lightning upon them, and gathering Whisper in his arms, dove into the waters. As he swam, they heard the screams of dying men and the sounds of timber torn apart behind them. It was 2 days before they reached the shores of Albion, leaving their home as far off as a dream. I shall tell you about Briar Rose. Born into a noble family, Briar's early childhood was one of luxury and plenty. But once her strength and unique abilities began to manifest themselves, her world fell apart. Her mother died in an accident Briar could do little to prevent. Yet her grieving father cast her out, and she was left to fend for herself, learning to rely on no one. She has made the guild her home, and it is in its books that she has found the companionship she has never asked for from another living being. It was her burning quest for knowledge that sent her on journeys far beyond Albion, during the time you made your mark in this world. But she is here to stay now. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Scythe. There is little I can tell you of Scythe's origins, for such knowledge is a mystery even to me. Yet, he is much more ancient than any of this time would believe possible, and has walked this world since long before the guild existed. It has been centuries since he's been personally involved in any action, but of those among us, only Jack of Blades has seen and done more. I know some interesting things about Maze. You and Maze had more in common than you ever realized. He too was left alone in the world after a wave of violence took his home away. As a child, he watched his parents torn apart by Bulverines as they walked through the woods. The beasts were about to turn on him when 3 warriors crashed into the clearing. 2 of them were guild heroes. The third was Jack of Blades. In an instant, Jack slew the Bulverines in a show of strength, then killed the heroes. Maze carried this debt all his life. It burdened his every action, and in the end, destroyed him. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of the archaeologist? The one who called himself the archaeologist was one of the few with a true academic interest in the Old Kingdom. But he was also a mine of disinformation, gathered from unreliable and sometimes contradicting sources, and he was too cowardly to delve far enough into the mysteries of that age. After his kidnapping by minions, he fled to the cities of the West, disguised as a glove trader. He hasn't opened a book or stepped near a ruin since. I shall tell you about Whisper from the Shira. Ah, yes, the sign of a Visto. The history of the land is yours to hear. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of the Archon. This age understands nothing of the Old Kingdom. Archon is a name that has passed down many generations, a lineage of powerful kings united by a unique bloodline. And by possession of the Sword of Aeons, when Jack found it, it was a ghost of the weapon it once was. And the name of Archon has become so detached from the realities of those kings that it is meaningless among the modern men. But the first Archon still casts his shadow in this world, a world that would not even exist had he not wrested it from the gods it belonged to before the Age of Man. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of Hook Coast? In the early years of the kingdom, a group of monks retired from the thriving cities that were appearing everywhere and settled in the harshest place they could find, founding an abbey on a distant shore. Soon, a whole community grew to serve their needs, and in time, the kingdom built a lighthouse that would guide ships from its ports to the unexplored lands in the northern wastes. When the Old Kingdom fell, it was in a wave of devastation that affected every town and city in its borders. But a handful of the monks, who still inhabited the abbey, knelt along the coast and used their willpower to protect this port and its people. You can still see the swirls of magic that mark the place they fell. Hook Coast was cut off from the rest of the world, but thanks to them, it stood intact. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Jack of Blades. The mask you carry is empty, but Jack has used it for longer than you can comprehend. He is no hero. He is not even a man. When the world was a blur of fire and demons, when its soil had felt not the tread of humans, and was filled with creatures only your worst nightmares could begin to suggest, even then was Jack old. What you killed in the Chamber of Fate was just the latest vessel he had inhabited. Take good care of the Soul Mask now. Without it, you have no hope of stopping his new incarnation. The Sign of Morik. I shall reveal to you the legends of this world. Let's see. Let's discuss Demon Doors. The life of a rock endowed with consciousness is never easy. But we all have a single purpose for which we were created. Mine is to collect stories, to be a keeper of ancient secrets past, and foreteller of terrible events future. That of Demon Doors is to safeguard the riches that lie behind them, and to invent games and riddles to test those who seek them. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of Nostro. Among the oldest heroes still bound to this world is Nostro, the founder of the guild. He was a tireless warrior who felt at ease only with a moving blade in his hand and the blood of enemies raining down upon his armor. But he did not die the death he craved, for he was poisoned by an assassin, leaving his soul languishing unfulfilled in this earthly realm. You returned the battle attire that was stolen from his grave, but he still seeks an honorable end before he can be truly at peace. I shall tell you about the Oracle. I was created by order of the Third Archon, not just to prepare the kingdom for future disasters, but to act as a keeper of all past and present knowledge. 4 will users with visionary powers were charged with the task. Kalran, Avisto, Euron, and Morik. Each carved a glyph of inquiry into stone, with the symbols that would allow their user to question me. After the fall of the kingdom, thousands of years later, Snowspire found itself under imminent attack from invading forces. The guild sent 4 acolytes to bury the glyphs in the necropolis, where they remained until you found them. Perhaps you would like to hear the story of the Prophets of the Fireheart. When the old kingdom was on the verge of collapse, I wasn't the only thing to be silenced and protected. The Fireheart, used to call forth the Ship of the Drowned, and to project the Archon's powers across vast distances, was sealed behind the primal demon door, the first ever created. Charged with guarding it were the 5 prophets who had predicted the kingdom's imminent destruction. They were encased in glass cages that both protected them from the beating of the heart and kept them alive until such time as they were released from their duty, or died fulfilling it. It's been so long since I told anyone about Snowspire. The town of Snowspire was once but one of many thriving cities in the northern wastes, and its lost bay served as the furthest port in all of the Old Kingdom. Its warriors, steeled by the harshest winters known to man, were among the fiercest the Archon had at his disposal, and it was to them that he entrusted the protection of the Oracle. But when the kingdom fell, Snowspire and all that surrounded it was beset by invading hordes. The Cullis gates were silenced, and the people of the north were cut off from all living beings beyond the icy seas of its coast. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of the Archon? this age understand but
You...
perhaps you would like to hear the story of the Necropolis. The place they call the Necropolis was not always a city of ghosts and relics. It was once as thriving as any town, and its people as peaceful and content as any other. Yet, there was one among them who was not so satisfied with this life, and bargained the fate of his city in exchange for wealth and power with entities too powerful to comprehend. The very next day, the riches he had desired were his, but he wasn't able to enjoy them for long. A vast force from beyond this world swept the city and wrought utter devastation so swiftly that the dead didn't realize they were no longer among the living. Some still wander the streets, shadows of their former selves, forever condemned by the avarice of one man. It's been so long since I told anyone about the Ship of the Drowned. When the Old Kingdom constructed the Hook Coast Lighthouse, they did so to house a magical item known as the Fire Heart. The beating of its powerful pulse summoned a ship from the depths of time, sunken for millennia, with a crew of whispers. This ship could carry the traveler to any part of the world, no matter how remote or inaccessible. But it would take a steely soul to withstand the desperate solitude of the journey. I know some interesting things about the Singing Sword. One of Albion's oldest fables is the tale of a sword whose enormous powers were matched only by the perfect pitch voice with which it would sing battle songs. But in some versions of the myth, it was its dreadful lack of tune that would defeat whole armies. This has led some scholars to believe that the tale has its root in Temens, the worst bard ever to exist. He who once killed an old hero by regaling him with a monstrously bad melody. Unfortunately, it is only a fable, and such a sword has never existed. Why don't I share with you my knowledge of the gods, Scorn and Avo? Though many worship these so-called gods, the temples to Scorn and Avo can only be dated as far back as 400 years ago, when they were founded by a ruthless trader. He uncovered 2 locations in Albion where the will was particularly strong. In one of them, it tended towards good, healing those who stood there. In the other, it tended towards evil, filling the mind of its visitors with horror and violent urges. The trader saw an opportunity. He would create 2 temples to 2 opposing gods, and demand gold from those who felt their power. In time, people came to believe in the existence of Scorn and Avo, but they are nothing but false idols.
Paladin! Do you have a donation there, hero? Could you spare the northern wastes? The children could stand to learn a little more geography. Thank you, hero. I'm sure we can put this to good use. Do any of you know what lies beyond the 9 seas? Yes?
The Northern Wastes.
Well done, Sue. Legends say that Jack of Blades first appeared there, and that it was the home of a mighty empire. Today, its ancient cities are buried deep beneath the ice. But there are still some who believe the empire will rise again, and that the people of the Northern Wastes will awaken when Albion is united once more.
Can't believe it's you.
Hello again. You found any interesting reading material? The other land is a charming story. Why don't you stay and listen, hero? It's never too late to learn. 'Twas in the latter days of the kingdom old that a boatload of travellers, wheat and rice, fleeing our land for fear of the sword, discovered an island that was true paradise. There were they welcomed by the native folk, with gifts of fruit and fowl and pig and trout, and a strange kind of ale brewed from egg yolk, that the refugees drank till it knocked them out. Soon they were stirred from their peaceful slumbers by the splattery coughs of their gracious hosts, who had taken ill and were dying in numbers of colds their visitors had brought to their coasts. Ere long, the kindly natives were all but extinct, and as they knew not how to gather nature's bounty, the fate of the foreigners to theirs was linked. They died of starvation, though surrounded by plenty. A few local survivors did their paradise rebuild, erecting this time a great fortress in the sand. It would stop them once more getting killed, lest those bad people from Albion return to their land. Any books for us today, hero? This book would be perfect. I've yet to meet a child who isn't fascinated by dragons. It lifts one's spirits to see a hero take such a keen interest in education. A long time ago, well before the age of the Old Kingdom, the skies of Albion were full of fearsome, majestic dragons. They flew wherever they wished, ate the people's livestock, rained down fire on their villages, and distressed their damsels. Then came the kingdom of Archon, and with it heroes who hunted the dragons for sport, almost driving them to extinction. Before long, every home in Albion had dragon scale curtains, dragon claw back scratchers, and dragon foot paperweights. The few remaining dragons fled to the Northern Wastes, and there they remain to this day. Though they are nowhere near as powerful now as they once were, they still represent a hero's ultimate test. Any books for us today, hero? Oh, the children are always asking me about the arena. Oh, they'll love this.
Wow, it's more amazing than I imagined.
It lifts one's spirits to see a hero take such a keen interest in education. How many of you have been to the Witchwood Arena? But have you ever stopped to look at the statues in the Hall of Heroes? Some of the greatest heroes in Albion's history are celebrated there. Mighty champions who conquered the arena and the people's hearts. In the days of the Old Kingdom, heroes would lead their fans into battles, so they could see their skill and bravery in combat. But all too often, spectators would find themselves torn limb from limb by balverines, or caught in the backwash of a hero's spell. And so, the arena was built in Witchwood, to give heroes a permanent stage on which to fight their duels without endangering the audience. Creatures are brought there from all over Albion for heroes to face, and the battles get more elaborate with every year that passes. But one rule remains unchanged. Should either hero wish it, the final battle between them can be fought to the death. You have done our school such a great service. I don't know if we can ever adequately repay you. I do have a little something, and, well, I know it's not much, but the children think you'll love it. We used it in our production of The Mage's Apprentice, but it was a little large for our particular actors.
What was the sissy like?
Any books for us today, hero? History is an important part of our curriculum here, so the Old Kingdom would be invaluable. Why don't you stay and listen, hero? It's never too late to learn. Can any of you tell me who built the ancient pillars at Lookout Point? Yes?
The people in the Old Kingdom, sir.
That's right. They once ruled all of Albion, and the ruins of their cities can still be found wherever you go. The kingdom was founded by a great lord named Archon, who united Albion using the power of the Sword of Eons. But over time, the sword began to corrupt him, and the kingdom fell into darkness. Strange monuments were built to focus the magical power of the kingdom, and terrifying armored figures were summoned to guard them. But at the very height of its power, the old kingdom collapsed, and Archon and his sword disappeared. What happened to them, nobody knows.
I'm going to be your assistant.
Even teachers need.
Hey, glad you're still with us. These inscriptions are fascinating, you know. Everything indicates that Jack's new form will emerge from behind the bronze gate, and this structure is the key to opening it. But it looks like it'll take the souls of 3 heroes to activate the mechanism. These things are never simple, are they? It doesn't want just any heroes either. The first instruction calls for the King of the Arena, no less. I suppose you could chop your own head off, but then there'd be no one for me to order around, would there? Why don't you pay Thunder a visit? He knows the arena inside and out. I've checked with the guild and they say he's in Knothole Glade. You've still got Jack's mask, haven't you? Good. You'll need it to trap the souls. I still can't believe he might not be dead. Anyway, I better start researching the second inscription.
Yes, little hero, I'm back. And our business is not quite finished. You destroyed my sword, remember? Have you any idea how many centuries I spent looking for it? But its work is done. Soon I will have power beyond your imagining, and you will be the first to die.
Now look, I won't tell you again. We don't need a hero. For the first time in years, we aren't being attacked, sieged, or kidnapped by anything. Now leave us alone.
You? Briar Rose said you would come. I will tell you what I know, if it will get you out of my sight. We were both once called Kings of the Arena, but there have been many heroes in the past who have claimed that name. You should search in the bloody dust of the arena itself. They say the souls of past champions haunt it, resting in the place of their greatest achievement. Now go, unless you're here to take my soul. You've taken everything else.
Why go all the way to the arena? You have a perfectly good soul right in front of you.
The souls of heroes often haunt the place of their greatest victories. Those who linger in the arena still hunger for the echoes of the screaming crowds. You will find what you seek there. The souls of heroes often haunt those who
all dead. Creatures killed every...
Run for your life! These things appeared in the cells and started killing everyone.
Afraid to fight another hero, were you? Very well. I have prepared some entertainment for you inside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a truly special occasion. Watch a hero ripped to pieces by trolls and Jack's very own minions. The bottom of a slime pit. Ex-champion, take this punishment much longer. Quest card waiting for you at the bottom of a slime pit. Jack's lovely minions are back, and they brought some puppies for our hero to play with. Certainly hope not. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from sunny Snowspire, I give you Summoners. Summoners pummeling a trip from the guild. Oh, was ever a sight sweeter than this? card waiting for you at the bottom of a slime pit. You found your first soul, did you? But the shrine is ever so greedy. It will want more before it's had its fill. I wonder who the next one will belong to.
Do you have that arena soul yet? Come back to the shrine and we'll see if it works.
Ha ha!